The morning in Silver Creek broke colder than usual, the kind of cold that bit straight through old coats and made porch rails creak. Folks were just stepping out with their first cup of coffee when the dogs started barking. First one, then a whole chain of them echoing across the snowy street. At first, people thought it was just a stray coyote, common this time of year. But then someone shouted, "It's a wolf! Right in the middle of the village!" Heads snapped up, doors cracked open, and there she was. A gray wolf mother, later they'd learn her name would be Luna, staggered across the snow-powdered road, fur matted with dirt and patches of dried blood. Her ribs showed sharply through her coat, each breath shallow and trembling. And clamped gently between her jaws was a tiny wolf pup, barely alive, its small body hanging limp like a wet leaf. Every few steps, Luna's legs buckled, yet she forced herself forward, leaving a thin trail of pink in the white snow. People froze. Some instinctively reached for their phones, others for their rifles. In a small mountain town like Silver Creek, a wolf this close was never treated as a good sign. Hank, the rancher from across the road, cursed under his breath and sprinted back inside. Everyone knew exactly what he was going to grab. But Luna didn't even lift her head at the noise around her. She wasn't hunting, she wasn't fighting, she wasn't even trying to run. She looked like a creature who had already surrendered to fate, except for the tiny life she still held in her mouth. At the far end of the street, Ethan Carter opened the door of his cabin. A former wildfire rescue firefighter, now working part-time at the local wildlife rehabilitation center, Ethan had seen herd animals before, but nothing like this. He nearly dropped his mug of coffee when Luna's shadow stumbled into his yard, legs trembling so hard she could barely stand. For a long moment, the world went silent around them. Just Ethan staring at her and her staring back with eyes that were clouded but pleading, as if begging him to understand something she couldn't say. Then, with a soft exhale, almost a sigh, Luna gently set the dying pup on the snow. She nudged it forward with her nose and collapsed in a heap, too weak to hold herself up any longer. Gasps rippled through the onlookers. Someone yelled for Hank. Someone else yelled to call animal control. A woman screamed for everyone to back up. But Ethan didn't move, not yet. He was stunned by the impossible sight in front of him. A wild wolf mother dragging her fading pup straight into human territory as if this was her final hope. If your heart pulls tight at moments like this, at the fragile thread between life and survival, between fear and compassion, you might want to stay close to stories like these. On Whispering Hearts, we share true and powerful tales of nature, resilience, and the quiet miracles that still happen in this world. If stories like Luna's mean something to you, feel free to subscribe. It helps more than you know. Snow drifted across the pup's little body. Luna didn't move at all, and Ethan finally took one step forward. Long before the snow of Silver Creek saw her broken body collapse at Ethan's gate, Luna had once ruled the high ridge with the confidence of a seasoned hunter. Back then, the forest above the village was alive, dense pines, crisp air, and the steady murmur of a river that never froze completely. Wolves thrived there, their tracks weaving between the trees like silent signatures of a life untouched by humans. Luna moved through that world with grace. She wasn't the largest wolf in the pack, nor the loudest, but she was swift. So swift that the others relied on her to make the first chase when hunting elk crossed the ridge. She could track scent patterns through thick fog, read shifting winds, and cut through underbrush without snapping a single twig. Rex, the pack's alpha, respected her skill. When she walked at his side, there was no question she belonged among the strongest. In those days, food was plentiful. Elk herds crossed the valley every week, Snow hares darted between fallen logs, and grouse exploded from bushes in bursts of brown feathers. Luna had a place, a purpose, and a rhythm with the land. Her coat then was sleek, her eyes sharp, and her steps silent but sure. Life followed an ancient order: hunt, rest, protect, repeat. But even the strongest routines have cracks. First came the rumbling of trucks along the logging road, echoing through the valley like distant thunder. Then came the shouting of men marking trees with bright paint. The pack grew uneasy. Elk scattered more often. The riverbanks, once quiet, filled with unfamiliar footprints and the metallic tang of gasoline drifting in the wind. Luna sensed the change long before the others admitted it. The forest was shrinking, little by little, day by day. What had been their sanctuary was slowly becoming a corridor for human activity. The pack still hunted, still howled under moonlight, but the harmony they'd known was fading like morning mist. Yet even then, Luna remained steady. She adapted, found new paths, tracked new prey. She taught the younger wolves where the safe creeks flowed and which fallen logs hid good shelter in winter. She brought down a full-grown mule deer on her own one frigid morning, the kind of kill that earned her silent nods from the rest of the pack. If anyone had seen her in those days, head high, breath steaming in the cold, a deer slung over her shoulders like a trophy, they never would have believed she was the same wolf who one day would crawl into a human village with her dying pup. But life changes quietly at first. A tree cut down here, a new trail there, a patch of forest lost to fire, a herd that doesn't return. And sometimes, even the strongest creatures do not realize they're standing at the edge of a storm until it's already too late. The night it happened didn't begin as anything unusual. A warm wind swept down from the ridge, stirring the pines with a restless whisper. Luna had led the pack to a clearing near the river, where the scent of elk lingered thick in the air. They were preparing for a hunt when an unfamiliar smell drifted through the valley. Sharp, smoky, and out of season. Luna raised her head first. Her ears twitched. Her muscles tightened. It wasn't the smell of a nearby campfire. It was bigger, hotter, wrong. Within minutes, the eastern sky turned a deep, unnatural orange. Fire moved fast on dry pine needles, and this fire ran like something alive, devouring everything in its path. The wolves bolted uphill as sparks rained down like stinging snowflakes. Tree trunks cracked under heat, and birds burst from the canopy in frantic clouds. Luna stayed close to the pups of the pack, nudging them forward, barking sharply whenever one stumbled. Far below, human voices shouted over the flames. Trucks growled, sirens echoed. Even from a distance, the wolves could hear men yelling orders and the thump of helicopter blades stirring the smoky air. The forest, once their home, sounded like a battlefield. In the chaos, a young wolf from the pack, barely out of its first winter, fell behind. Luna spun around when she heard its cry, a thin, terrified yelp swallowed by smoke. She rushed toward the sound, weaving through burning branches, her eyes stinging. That's when she saw it, the pup thrashing in agony, its front leg caught in a steel trap left behind by illegal hunters. The metal jaws were clamped tight, blood soaking the fur around the wound. Luna snapped and clawed at the trap, desperate to free it, but the steel wouldn't budge. The flames grew nearer, the heat scorching her face. The pup's cries weakened until they were nothing but shallow gasps. When the fire finally reached the brush around them, Luna had no choice. She leapt back, just as the pup went still. The pack regrouped on a rocky ledge far from the blaze. Rex paced back and forth, tail low, ears flattened. He stared down at the burning forest with a look Luna had never seen on him before. Fear, mixed with fury. That night cemented something in him. In all of them, really. Every puff of smoke, every distant siren, every scent of gasoline became a reminder: when humans come close, wolves die. The fire burned for 2 days. When it finally ended, the pack returned to a forest charred and unrecognizable. Trees stood like blackened skeletons. The river ran muddy with ash. And though the pack survived, something in Luna shifted. She had seen helplessness up close. She had tasted the bitter truth that even a strong wolf couldn't save everything she loved. She didn't know it then, but that night was the first crack in the world she thought would always protect her. A crack that would widen season after season until it swallowed her whole and pushed her one day all the way to Silver Creek, with ash hanging limp in her jaws.
Winter crept in slowly after the fire, laying down a thin blanket of white over the charred trees. But the damage beneath the snow never truly disappeared. The ridge where Luna once hunted with ease had become a patchwork of fallen trunks, bare earth, and quiet stretches where prey no longer roamed. It was in this wounded forest, scarred by human carelessness, that Luna realized she was carrying new life inside her. At first, it was only a heaviness in her stride, a slower breath after long runs. Then came the instinctive caution, the careful steps when crossing icy stones, the way her body curled protectively when the wind grew sharp. Though the pack didn't speak in words, they sensed it too. Rex watched her more closely, his amber eyes picking up every sign, the way she tired faster, the way she hesitated before a hunt. For a while, he tolerated it. A wolf bearing pups was part of the natural cycle, something even an alpha respected. But the forest no longer offered the generosity it once did. The fire had driven the elk herds deeper into the mountains, and the logging trucks pushing farther west scattered whatever remained. Hunts that used to be certain turned into long pursuits ending in nothing but exhaustion. The pack grew restless, ribs showing beneath their winter coats. Hunger sharpened their instincts, and in hunger, every weakness becomes a threat. Luna did everything she could to keep up. She pushed herself on cold mornings, forcing her legs to match the pace of younger wolves. She tried to track prey across unfamiliar trails, where the faint scent of deer mixed with the harsh smell of diesel. But her body could no longer hide what it carried. Her steps slowed. Her breaths came harder. She faltered once during a chase, just once, but it was enough. Rex stopped the hunt abruptly. His growl rolled low through the trees, a sound meant not for prey, but for Luna. She lowered her head, not from fear, but from shame. She knew what he saw, a liability at a time when the pack could afford none. The others stood by silently, their instincts torn between loyalty and survival. Wolves don't debate or negotiate. The forest decides, and the forest was starving. In the days that followed, Luna kept to the edge of the group, giving the others more room. She hunted smaller game, hares, mice, anything she could catch alone. But even those were scarce now. The pups inside her demanded more than she could provide, and each night she curled beneath a fallen pine, trembling with the strain of keeping them alive. Still, she didn't give up. Something fierce burned in her, a determination older than the pack itself. She would endure the cold. She would endure the emptiness in her belly. She would endure the distance growing between her and the wolves she once ran beside. But the ridge had changed, and so had the laws that governed it. What once felt like protection now felt like pressure closing in on her. The pack's silence grew heavier. Rex's glances turned harder. The unspoken truth settled between them like the deepening snow. Soon, Luna would no longer be part of the circle she'd been born into. She didn't know how soon, she didn't know how brutal the moment would be, but she did know one thing. Her pups were coming, and the world they would be born into was already unraveling beneath her feet.
The break didn't come with a howl or a warning. It came in a single, brutal moment, so quick and sharp that Luna would remember it long after the scars healed. The pack had cornered a young mule deer near the edge of the burned forest, a rare chance at a real meal. Luna pushed herself harder than her body allowed, lungs burning, legs shaking under the extra weight she carried. Just when the pack surged forward for the final strike, her paw slipped on the blackened ice beneath the snow. She fell, one stumble, nothing more. But in a starving pack, even a stumble can rearrange destiny. Rex whirled around, teeth bared. His growl wasn't the usual command. It was a sound carved from frustration and desperation. Before Luna could rise, his jaws clamped down on her shoulder. Pain shot through her side, white-hot and blinding. She yelped, struggling to free herself, but Rex pushed harder, forcing her into the snow. His message was painfully clear. You're slowing us down. You're a threat to the pack's survival. Around them, the others watched, not coldly but helplessly. Wolves are bound by instinct stronger than sympathy. A weak member in harsh winter meant less food for the strong. Luna met the eyes of a younger female she had once taught to track deer, eyes that now looked away, ashamed and resigned. Rex released her with a final punishing shove. His hackles rose as he stepped forward, not to attack again, but to drive her back. The circle opened, widening the distance between Luna and the ones she had hunted beside all her life. Snowflakes drifted between them like falling pieces of a world splitting in two. Luna didn't try to fight. She stood on trembling legs, blood trickling down her shoulder, breath forming uneven clouds in the cold air. The truth had settled in her bones long before this moment. The pack had no room for a wolf carrying unborn pups, no matter how skilled she once was. She backed away slowly, step by painful step. Rex held his stance, watching her with the hard eyes of a leader forced into cruelty by hunger. When Luna had retreated far enough, he turned and led the pack toward the fading trail of the mule deer. Not one of them looked back. The silence that followed was colder than the wind. Alone now, Luna limped into the burned outskirts of the forest. The world seemed sharper without the safety of the pack. Every groan of a shifting tree, every distant crack of ice carried the weight of danger. Her wound throbbed. The pups inside her shifted weakly. She found no comfort in the familiar paths. Even the trees looked different, their charred limbs pointing like accusing fingers. She curled beneath a fallen log that night, shivering as flakes settled on her fur. Hunger gnawed deep inside her, but it was the emptiness beside her, the space where her pack once slept, that cut the deepest. Still, she wasn't beaten. The fire had not destroyed her. The forest's loss hadn't broken her. Being cast out would not end her. Luna was a mother now, and a mother does not surrender, even when the world she trusted turns its back on her. Somewhere in the cold darkness, she lifted her head and listened to the wind. It carried no howls from her former pack, only the hollow quiet of winter. Yet beneath that quiet, Luna felt the faintest pulse of purpose. She would survive, and her pups would survive with her, whatever it took. Winter deepened as Luna wandered through the broken forest, searching for somewhere, anywhere that could shield her from the biting wind. Her shoulder still ached from Rex's teeth, every step sending a dull throb down her side. But the weight she carried inside her pressed more urgently. The pups were coming soon. She could feel their movement, gentle but insistent, as if they too were pleading with her to find safety. After hours of pushing through snow-dusted brush and weaving between fallen pines, Luna discovered a narrow opening beneath a slab of rock. It wasn't much, just a shallow cave formed by years of erosion and winter storms, but it was dry, sheltered from the wind, and hidden from the open ridge. For a lone wolf with nowhere left to go, it was enough. She circled the small hollow, scraping away loose stones and gathering what little dry moss remained from before the fire. The earth smelled faintly of old roots and cold water, familiar in a way that steadied her trembling breath. That night, with the wind scraping across the forest floor outside, Luna curled tightly in the shadows, protecting the life within her from the cold creeping in. By dawn, the contractions began. The labor was long, painful, and made even harder by the emptiness of her stomach and the cold air seeping into her bones. She growled, whimpered, and pressed her body against the stone wall to brace herself. When the first tiny cry echoed off the cave walls, Luna forced her weary eyes open. A small male pup, stronger than she expected, was wriggling weakly at her side. She cleaned him gently, nudging him toward warmth. Then came the second, a female, slightly larger, with a sharp little squeak that cut through the silence. Luna pulled her close too, licking her clean with trembling strokes. But the third pup, was different. He was smaller, lighter, fragile as frost on a fallen leaf. When Luna lifted him, her heart tightened. His breathing was faint, his cries softer, almost uncertain. She held him close, warming his icy fur with her tongue, pressing him to her chest as if trying to will strength into his tiny body. She named him, wordlessly, instinctively, Ash, for he was as delicate as the gray dust that still clung to the burned trees outside. For the first time in weeks, the hollow cave felt warm. All three pups, Blaze, Frost, and Little Ash, nestled against her belly, their tiny bodies rising and falling with the rhythm of new life. Luna stayed awake long after their breathing steadied, listening to the wind whistle around the rocks. She knew the forest offered no guarantees, but in that moment, surrounded by her pup's soft warmth, she let herself believe hope still had a place in her world. The days that followed settled into a fragile routine. Luna left the den only when hunger clawed too fiercely at her stomach, hunting whatever she could catch: a snow hare, a startled grouse, even scraps near an old trail where human hikers sometimes passed. Each time she returned, the pup's faint mews filled the cave, a promise that her struggle wasn't in vain. Blaze and Frost grew quickly, their legs stronger each dawn, their eyes bright with curiosity. Ash, however, remained quiet and slow. He clung to Luna more tightly than the others, as if uncertain the world outside her warmth could hold him. Still, Luna never treated him as weaker, only as precious. But survival is never promised in a winter-scarred forest, especially to those born under the shadow of hunger. Luna didn't know it yet, but the fragile peace inside that little stone cave wouldn't hold for long. The forest was changing again, and soon, so would everything she thought she could protect. The first weeks inside the rocky den passed with a fragile rhythm, but the forest outside continued to unravel. As winter tightened its hold, prey became scarce, far scarcer than Luna had ever known. The fire months earlier had stripped the land bare, and what little game remained had fled deeper into untouched valleys. Each time Luna left the den, the cold wind bit straight through her thinning fur, and her wounded shoulder stung with every step. But she hunted anyway, because her pup's cries echoed in her ears long after she returned. Her hunts grew shorter, not because she wanted them to be, but because her body could no longer endure long chases. She relied on luck more than skill now, catching a distracted snowshoe hare or digging out a mouse hidden beneath the snow. On rare days, she found scraps left along human trails, bits of bread, greasy wrappers, or half-frozen remains tossed aside by hikers. Once, she found a piece of meat near an old campsite. It smelled strange, too sharp, too metallic, but hunger drowned out caution. She took it, ate half, brought the rest back to the den. Blaze and Frost devoured it eagerly. Ash, too weak to compete, licked only a corner before falling asleep against Luna's side. Within days, the change began. Blaze was the first. One morning, Luna awoke to find him shivering uncontrollably, his little legs kicking as if running from something in a dream. His breath came in short, frantic bursts, and when Luna nudged him, his head rolled limply. She tried everything, curling around him, licking his muzzle, urging him toward warmth, but his eyes were already losing their spark. By sunset, Blaze lay still, his chest no longer rising. Frost watched with wide, frightened eyes, curling against Luna as if trying to disappear into her fur. Luna carried Blaze's tiny body out of the den, her paws heavy and slow. She buried him beneath the drift of snow near a fallen pine, marking the place with a soft whimper that misted in the cold air. 3 days later, Frost's turn came, and it was even more brutal. A shadow swept across the den entrance that afternoon, followed by a sudden, violent shriek. Luna lunged outside just in time to see a massive golden eagle lifting Frost from the ground, its talons sunk deep into his back. She sprang upward with a ferocity that tore through her exhaustion, clamping her jaws around the eagle's wing. The bird screeched, beating the air with furious force, but Luna held on. They struggled violently, feathers and snow swirling around them, until the eagle tore free, leaving Frost to fall hard onto the frozen earth. Luna rushed to him, nudging, licking, begging, but the deep wounds across his small body were too much. She lay beside him until his trembling stopped, her own breath uneven and hollow. 2 small graves now lay beneath the old pine. Ash was the only one left. He pressed against her side, so small he barely created warmth. His breaths were thin, uneven, and carried the same quiet fragility he'd had since birth. Luna hovered over him day and night, determined not to lose him the way she'd lost the others. But each sunrise revealed a little less strength in his movements and a little more fear in her heart. Inside the den, Luna curled her body around Ash, trying to shut out the cold, the hunger, the silence where 2 other heartbeats used to be. She groomed him endlessly, whispering in the only way wolves can, with breath, warmth, and presence. But outside that small cave, winter pressed closer. The forest held fewer sounds each day, and Luna understood, with a heaviness that nearly crushed her, that love alone would not be enough. If something didn't change soon, Ash would follow Blaze and Frost into the snow. While Luna fought to keep Ash alive in the cold den, life in Silver Creek moved on with human routines and quiet worries of its own. On the far edge of the village, where the last streetlight gave way to dark pines, stood a small, weathered cabin with a steel roof and a crooked porch. That was Ethan Carter's place. Ethan had once chased wildfires for a living, flying into chaos with a crew of hotshot firefighters. A bad fall during a night operation ended that life. Shattered bones, a long hospital stay, and a limp that never quite went away. These days, he worked part-time at the local wildlife rehabilitation center, patched fences, and raised his 10-year-old daughter, Mia, the best he knew how. Most mornings before the sun fully cleared the ridge, Ethan sat on the porch steps with a mug of coffee while Mia pulled on her backpack inside. Sometimes, a fox would skitter along the tree line, or deer would pause to graze near the ditch. Ethan always watched them with the same quiet respect, the way some men watch the stock market or the evening news. Luna had seen him before, though he never knew it. On nights when hunger drove her closer to human scent, she moved like a shadow through the trees above his cabin. From there, she saw him kneel beside an injured red fox caught in a wire snare, hands steady as he cut the metal away. She watched him wrap the fox in an old flannel shirt, murmur something soft, and carry it gently to his truck. Another time, just after the first snow, she saw a young doe limp along the road with a deep gash on its leg. Ethan pulled over, blocking traffic with his truck without a second thought. With the help of a local officer, he loaded the trembling animal onto a tarp and drove straight toward the rehab center on the outskirts of town. Luna followed at a distance, drawn by the scent of blood and by something else: curiosity. But not every human in Silver Creek moved like Ethan. Across the road from his cabin lived Hank Dawson, a stocky rancher with a weathered face and a permanent scowl. Hank had lost several sheep over the years to predators, and in his mind, every set of yellow eyes in the dark belonged to an enemy. He kept a rifle propped by his back door, a habit as natural to him as breathing. When coyotes howled too close or dogs barked toward the ridge, Hank would step out onto his porch, scan the tree line, and mutter, "Vermin," under his breath. Luna had seen him too. She saw the way he fired warning shots into the night, the way he cursed at movement he couldn't even see. Once, she watched him drag the limp body of a coyote from his field and toss it into a ditch, the smell of gunpowder thick in the air. To Luna, the scent of humans had long meant danger, fire, traps, shouting, the iron taste of fear. Yet when she watched Ethan from the shadows, something didn't fit that pattern. His hands freed, while Hank's hands bound and killed. One man approached the wounded and carried them toward warmth. The other drove anything wild away from his fence line with bullets and anger. She didn't understand their words, but she understood their movements, their energy, the shift in the air when they stepped outside. The forest had taught her to read intent by posture and breath, by the way a body leaned forward or relaxed. From her hidden place among the burned trunks, Luna learned one unsettling truth: not all humans were the same. And somewhere deep inside, beneath layers of fear and instinct, a tiny, impossible thought began to form. If there was any creature on two legs she might dare to approach one day, it would be the man at the edge of the village. She just didn't know yet. That day was coming far sooner than she could bear.
The silence inside the den grew heavier after Blaze and Frost were gone. Luna curled herself tightly around Ash, wrapping him in whatever warmth her thin body could still offer. He was so small now, smaller than he had been even as a newborn, as if each gust of winter wind stole a bit more strength from him. His breaths came light and ragged, and sometimes he paused so long between them that Luna nudged him in panic, begging him silently to keep fighting. Hunger clawed at her constantly. The forest offered almost nothing, just the brittle remains of a world that once fed her pack with ease. Luna pushed farther from the den each day, limping across ice-covered slopes and weaving between deadfall left behind by the fire. She dug under logs, chased fleeting shadows, and circled abandoned campsites where the scent of humans lingered like smoke. Every scrap she found was smaller than the last. Then came the piece of meat near an old hunting blind, fresh enough to catch her attention, but carrying a bitter tang she didn't recognize. In better times, she would have avoided it, but these were not better times. Hunger drowned out caution. She tore off what she could and carried the rest back to the den, setting it before Ash with a hopeful nudge. He licked it once, just once, and whimpered. By morning, he could barely lift his head. His eyes seemed unfocused, drifting in and out of the dim light. His breaths rasped like dry leaves blown across stone. Luna nosed him repeatedly, desperate to stir some spark of energy, but his body remained limp, legs twitching only from weakness. The realization washed over her slowly, painfully. Ash was starving, yes, but something else was consuming him from within. That night, Luna did not hunt. She lay with her head pressed over Ash's tiny ribs, feeling each uneven rise of his chest. Memories of blaze and frost, cold in the snow, gone too soon, burned through her like the wind that howled outside the cave. Losing them had carved deep wounds inside her, but Ash had always been her smallest fighter, the pup who clung to life even when the world pushed him away. She refused to surrender him to the same fate. When dawn crept over the ridge, Luna forced herself onto her feet. Ash let out a faint whine as she moved, and she lowered her head to touch his cheek, promising in the only way she could that she would return, that she would bring something real, something warm, something alive. She spent the day moving farther than she had since giving birth, her legs trembling from exhaustion and cold. She crossed the river where the ice cracked beneath her paws, climbed the scarred hill where the fire had first taken root, and traced the invisible lines of scent that led her closer and closer to human territory. Her instincts screamed against it, her heart hammered with fear. But the memory of Ethan's gentle hands cutting a fox loose from wire lingered like a distant lantern in the dark. Somewhere between the burned trees and the edge of the ridge, Luna stopped and looked back toward her den. She thought of Ash, fragile, fading, waiting. Then she turned toward the faint glow of Silver Creek. The choice was made. Ash's breaths were getting shorter. Her time was nearly gone. And Luna, driven by a kind of desperation only a mother could hold, stepped into a world no wild wolf would ever choose to enter, unless she had no other hope left at all. By the time Luna reached the ridge overlooking Silver Creek, the sun had already dipped behind the mountains. Night crept across the valley in slow, icy waves, swallowing what little warmth the day had offered. Luna stood trembling, Ash held gently between her jaws, his breath thin and irregular against her tongue. She could feel the faint flutter of his tiny heart, weak, hesitant, slipping. Every instinct inside her rebelled at what she was considering. Wolves did not go to humans. They avoided their noise, their scent, their weapons, their unpredictable movements. Generations of caution lived in Luna's bones, passed down long before she ever opened her eyes to the world. Wolves survived by staying hidden, by staying wild, by staying away. But Ash was dying. Luna set him down for a moment in a patch of brittle grass, circling him anxiously, nudging his frail belly in a desperate attempt to stir strength. His small body barely moved. His paws twitched once, twice, then rested again. The cold of the ground seemed to seep into him faster than she could warm him. She couldn't wait anymore. She lifted him gently, her jaw trembling, not from cold but from fear. Ahead lay the uncertain promise of the village, lights glowing warm in the dusk, the distant hum of engines, faint human voices drifting between houses. Behind her lay the forest, dark and empty, stripped of the life it once offered. Luna tried hunting one last time before committing fully to the dangerous path. She chased a jackrabbit across the rocky slope, but her weakened legs failed her. She stumbled and fell hard, scraping her muzzle on the frozen earth. With Ash so close to fading, she didn't dare risk more time or more injuries. Farther down the slope, the scent of livestock drifted from Hank Dawson's ranch. thick, tempting, and familiar. Sheep would be easy prey. For a moment, the urge surged inside her, that old predatory instinct to take what she needed. But Luna could smell Hank too. His boots, the oil from his rifle, the trail of gunpowder that always clung to his jacket. Going near him meant death. And if she died, Ash would die moments later. She veered away, heart pounding. As Luna padded through the trees, the sound of human laughter suddenly echoed from somewhere close. A pair of hikers, flashlights bobbing in the dark, moved along a trail near the base of the ridge. Luna froze, lowering herself into the shadows. One wrong move, one glint of her eyes in the light, and she knew the men would shout or throw stones, or worse. She crouched motionless as they passed, Ash limp in her jaws. When their voices finally faded, she rose again, shaking from nerves and exhaustion. Each step after that became heavier, slower. Her vision blurred, her breath rasped. But Ash's heartbeat, as faint as it was, kept her going. Then came the most terrifying sound yet, the distant howl of another wolf. Not from her old pack, not a friend. A wandering male, patrolling territory that overlapped with the village outskirts. His call swept across the valley like a warning. Luna stiffened, ears pinned. Wanderers were unpredictable, hungry, competitive, sometimes violent toward pups that weren't theirs. She turned away quickly, forcing her aching legs to move faster through the underbrush. By the time she reached the first fence line marking the edge of Silver Creek, Luna was running on instinct alone. The homes were close now, warm windows glowing amber, chimneys breathing soft streams of smoke into the dark sky. She hesitated at the fence, with Ash dangling motionless from her jaws, his breath barely touching her fur. She could feel the cold creeping into his tiny body with every passing second. This was it. Somewhere in that village lived the human whose scent she remembered, the man who freed the fox, who knelt beside wounded creatures, who did not move like Hank or the hunters. The one whose presence felt different, safer. Ethan. Luna didn't understand human words, but she understood patterns, movements, intent. Out of all the humans in Silver Creek, he was the only one whose presence had ever softened her fear, even for a heartbeat. And now that heartbeat was all Ash had left. Luna stepped over the fence. Her legs trembled violently, but she pressed on, padding across the snowy ground toward the cluster of houses. Dogs began barking one by one, their alarms spreading across the neighborhood in a rising wave. Doors opened, lights snapped on, voices carried across the cold air. Still, she kept moving. Toward the porch with the worn steps, toward the cabin at the end of the road, toward the man she hoped with all the courage a mother could muster, might understand. With Ash fading in her jaws, Luna walked into the village and into the center of everything she had once feared. Because fear no longer mattered. Only Ash did.
When Luna stepped over the fence line, the village air hit her nose all at once. Wood smoke, engine fumes, laundry soap, the sharp ammonia of shoveled sidewalks. It was a world of hard edges and strange smells, nothing like the soft earth and pine of the ridge. Ash hung motionless from her jaws, his weight almost nothing now, and that frightened her more than if he'd been heavy. The snow under her paws felt wrong here. It was packed down by boots and tires, cut into ridges by shovels. A porch light flicked on to her left. A dog behind a wooden fence exploded into frantic barking, teeth flashing between the slats. Another dog joined in down the street, then another, until the whole row of houses seemed to wake up and cry alarm. Luna kept walking. She moved slowly, not stalking, not slinking, just putting one paw in front of the other. The cold bit into her cracked pads. Her legs trembled with every step. She knew she was exposed out here, no trees, no brush to disappear into. But the only cover she needed now was time. Just enough time to reach the man whose scent she remembered from the forest's edge. A front door slammed somewhere ahead. A human voice called out, sharp and suspicious. Luna's ears twitched at the sound, but she did not veer off. To her right, a truck engine turned over, coughing once before settling into a low rumble. Headlights swept across her for a brief, blinding second, and she froze, body tensing to bolt. The truck stopped. The lights clicked off. Whoever sat inside chose not to move. She went on. The smells grew stronger as she neared the last house on the street. Under all the human scents, coffee, bacon grease, laundry detergent, there it was. The familiar note of the man who had freed the fox, who had blocked traffic for the bleeding doe. Ethan. His scent carried with it something steady, something that did not spike with anger or fear the way others did. Ash gave a tiny jerk in her jaws, almost like a sigh. Luna felt it, and a jolt went through her chest. He was still there, still fighting in his small way. She rounded the last bend and saw the cabin. Steel roof, crooked porch, the outline of a man in the doorway holding a mug. Behind him, through the window, the faint shape of a smaller figure. His pup, though Luna had no word for that. Warm light spilled onto the snow, turning the yard into a shallow pool of gold in the dim morning. For a moment, Luna almost stopped. The weight of countless generations pressed down on her, the long memory of wolves shot for coming too close, of traps baited with meat, of pups lost to human fear. Her muscles screamed to turn and run, to find a hollow log somewhere and hide with Ash until the end. Her heart hammered against her ribs, each beat a warning. Instead, she took another step forward. The dog's barking rose to a fever pitch now. A shout came from a nearby yard, and Luna heard the hurried stomp of boots on wooden steps, the metallic click of a gun being taken down from a hook. A man's angry voice cut through the air, Hank's voice. Even without seeing him, she knew it. Luna's legs nearly gave way, but she forced them to hold. She focused on Ethan's eyes, the way they had widened in shock but not hatred. He stood still, caught between fear and something else, mug forgotten in his hand. When she was close enough that his scent filled her lungs, Luna stopped. Ash's breath fluttered once more against her tongue, warm but fading. Very carefully, she lowered him onto the snow. For the first time since leaving the den, Luna let her head drop. Her body shook with exhaustion. She nudged Ash forward with the tip of her nose, as if to push him across some invisible line of safety between the wild and the human world. Her vision blurred at the edges. The sounds around her, the dogs, the shouted warnings, the hurried footsteps, began to smear together into a dull roar. She tried to stand a little taller, to show she meant no harm, that her teeth were not for them. Her front legs buckled instead. The ground rushed up to meet her. There was one last image burned into her mind as everything dimmed. Ethan stepping out of the doorway, eyes locked on hers, his expression stunned but not cruel. Then the light, the snow, the village, all slid away, and Luna's world went dark.
Snow crunched sharply under boots as voices closed in around Luna's collapsed body. Ethan moved first, almost without realizing it, stepping down from his porch and into the cold light spilling across the yard. The sight before him made his breath stall. A wild wolf mother, ribs jutting through her fur, lying unconscious in the snow, with a pup barely clinging to life beside her. Behind him, Mia pressed her hands to the window, her small face pale and frightened. Ethan lifted a hand toward her in a weak attempt at reassurance, though he didn't believe it himself. Then came the sound he dreaded, a metallic slide, a weapon being chambered. Hank Dawson's voice cut through the yard like a jagged blade. "Ethan, step back. That wolf ain't staying alive on my street." Ethan turned. Hank stood across the road, rifle already raised to his shoulder, jaw set with the cold certainty of a man who'd made his mind up before thinking twice. A few neighbors clustered near him, unsure but watching. Dogs strained against their fences, barking themselves hoarse. "Hank, put the gun down," Ethan said, moving instinctively in front of Luna's motionless form. "She's not attacking anyone." "She will when she wakes up," Hank snapped. "You think I'm letting a wolf roam loose after what they've done to my sheep? Move aside." Ethan's jaw tightened. Every instinct told him to de-escalate, but the tiny pup wheezing in the snow made that impossible. "I'm not moving," he said quietly. Hank took one step closer, boots digging hard into the snow. "Ethan, don't be stupid. This is a predator, a dangerous one." "And that," Ethan said, pointing to Ash, "is a dying baby." The words hung in the cold morning air. Even the barking seemed to pause for a second. Ethan crouched beside Ash, careful and slow, feeling for breath. The pup's chest rose shallowly, barely, but it rose. His fur was icy beneath Ethan's fingers. One of Ash's ears twitched when Ethan touched him, but only faintly, like a candle flickering in a draft. "Dad?" Mia's voice called timidly from the porch, barely above a whisper. Ethan turned his head just enough for her to see his face, his expression steady but tense. "Stay inside, sweetheart." Hank muttered something under his breath, an oath or a warning, but Ethan ignored it. His focus narrowed to the wolf pup in front of him and the still form lying behind. He looked up at the neighbors gathering around him. "She brought him here," Ethan said, louder now so they could all hear it. "She didn't attack anyone. She didn't run. She walked right up to my door and collapsed. That's not aggression. That's desperation." One woman near Hank lowered her phone slowly. She looks starving," she murmured. "Starving animals are dangerous," Hank shot back, but his voice had lost some of its certainty. Ethan reached inside his coat and pulled out a wool glove, rolling it gently into a cradle for Ash. The pup barely weighed anything. He felt like holding a handful of fragile bird bones wrapped in thin fur. Ethan lifted him carefully, watching for signs of distress. Ash whimpered once, so faint that only Ethan heard it. At that sound, something in Ethan snapped into place. Training, instinct, memory from years of handling injured wildlife, they all rose to the surface. He turned his back fully toward Hank's rifle, shielding the pup with his own body. "Hank," he said, without looking up, "if you're planning on shooting a wolf, you're going to have to shoot through me." A ripple of shock passed through the small crowd. Even Hank froze, stunned that Ethan would put himself in the line of fire. "Ethan," Hank said slowly, lowering the barrel a fraction, "don't make this harder than it needs to be. She's not the threat here. Not today." Hank hesitated. For the first time since stepping outside, doubt flickered in his eyes. His gaze drifted to Luna, thin, unconscious, unmoving, and then to Ash in Ethan's hands, barely breathing. After a long, tense moment, Hank finally muttered a curse under his breath and lowered the rifle. "Fine, but this is on you. Don't say I didn't warn you when she wakes up." Ethan didn't respond. He was already turning toward the wooden shed behind his house, the makeshift rehabilitation room he'd built years earlier. He moved carefully, every step deliberate, cradling Ash like something neither wild nor dangerous, but simply fragile. Behind him, Luna lay motionless in the snow, her breath shallow and fading. Ethan looked back only once, as if silently promising her something she could not hear. Then he disappeared into the shed to fight for Ash's life, unaware that the moment Luna collapsed in his yard would echo far beyond the village of Silver Creek and change everything that came after.
The shed's door swung shut behind Ethan with a soft thud, muffling the sounds of distant barking and fading arguments. Inside, the air was warmer, heated by a small propane unit and lined with the faint scent of antiseptic and pine shavings. This was where he'd treated injured raccoons, owls, a one-eyed fox, and once even a wounded eagle. But never a wolf pup. Never anything this fragile. Ethan laid Ash onto a thick folded towel on the workbench, his hands moving with practiced calm, even as dread pressed tight around his chest. The pup's breaths were shallow and uneven, each one a fading whisper. Frost clung to the fur around his muzzle, and his paws were icy despite the heated room. Ethan touched one tiny paw, cold as riverstone. "You're not giving up," he murmured, almost to himself. "Not after everything she did to bring you here." He grabbed a small heating pad, wrapped it in cloth, and slid it beneath Ash's body. The pup twitched weakly, a faint sign of awareness. Ethan exhaled, relieved at even that sliver of response. Next came the warmed electrolyte solution, something he'd used for newborn fawns suffering from hypothermia. He filled a syringe with the warmed liquid, careful to release every bubble. Ash's eyes barely cracked open, a thin, glassy glimmer, not focus, just instinct. "That's it," he whispered. "Stay with me." He touched the syringe to the corner of the pup's mouth and released a single drop. Ash didn't swallow. He tried again, another drop, still nothing. "Come on," he breathed. On the third try, Ash's throat made the smallest reflexive movement, a swallow. Weak, but real. Ethan felt his shoulders sag in relief. He waited a moment, then added another drop, then another. Always slow, always careful. Outside, a gust of wind rattled the shed's tin roof. Ethan didn't look up. The world outside could wait. Minutes crawled by, each one measured in shallow breaths and tiny swallows. Ash's ears flicked when Ethan adjusted the towel beneath him, and the dull frost on his fur began to melt. A faint tremor passed through his ribs, not the shiver of cold, but the body fighting its way back from the brink. "You're a tough little thing," he murmured, brushing a fingertip against his fur. "Just like your mother." At the mention of the wolf, Ethan felt a sharp pang. Luna was still lying out there in the snow, unconscious, starving, vulnerable to anyone with a grudge or a gun. He wanted to check on her, needed to, but he couldn't leave the pup, not when every second mattered. Ash swallowed again, this time with a bit more strength. His tiny chest lifted more smoothly. Ethan dared to release a long breath of his own. He reached for his stethoscope and placed it gently against Ash's ribs. The pulse was thin, erratic, but present, the heart of a pup who hadn't given up yet. "Good," he said softly. "Good boy. Keep fighting." There was a knock on the shed door, quiet, hesitant. Ethan stiffened. For a moment, fear shot through him that Hank had returned, rifle in hand. But when the door cracked open, Mia's small face peeked through, eyes wide and shimmering. "Dad? Is he going to die?" Ethan swallowed hard. "Not if I can help it." She stepped inside, moving slowly as if the air itself might break. She approached the bench, lifting herself onto her toes to see. When she spotted Ash wrapped and trembling beside the heating pad, her breath caught. "He's so tiny," she whispered. "I know." Mia hesitated before asking, "Did his mom really bring him here? On purpose?" Ethan met her eyes. "Yes, she walked right into the village to save him." Mia nodded slowly, absorbing that. "Then, you have to save her too." Ethan felt those words land deep in him. Heavy, true. "I will," he promised. "As soon as he stabilizes." Mia moved closer and placed her small hand lightly on Ethan's arm. "You trusted you." The words echoed like a truth too big for the shed. Outside, a long, low howl welled up from the distance. Not a threat,
Not a warning, but a call wrapped in exhaustion and grief. Ethan froze. Mia did too. The wind might have carried the sound strangely, but there was no mistaking the voice. It was Luna, calling for her pup, calling through the dark she couldn't see through, calling with the last strength left in her body. Mia's voice broke the silence first. "Dad, she's waking up." Ethan looked down at Ash, still breathing, still fighting, and then toward the door where the cold seeped through the cracks. It was time to face whatever waited outside.
Ethan stepped out of the shed into the bitter morning air, the door falling shut behind him with a soft click. The world outside felt sharper now, colder, quieter, suspended somehow. The earlier chaos had faded, leaving only the crunch of snow under his boots and the distant hum of a generator somewhere down the street. The sky was a pale gray, heavy with the promise of more snowfall. Luna lay exactly where he'd left her, a dark shape curled in the snow like a creature carved out of the winter itself. For a terrifying moment, she looked completely still, too still. Ethan quickened his pace, heart tightening in his chest. If she had slipped deeper into unconsciousness, the cold alone could finish what starvation had started. But then he saw it, a twitch of her ear, a rise of her ribs, shallow but real, and a faint, low whine threading through the frozen air. She was waking. Ethan slowed, raising his hands instinctively to show he carried nothing threatening. Luna's eyes cracked open, their amber glow dim but aware. She tried lifting her head, but her muscles trembled violently, giving out halfway. The effort alone looked painful. Still, her gaze darted toward the shed door, toward the scent of her pup, and Ethan felt the raw force of her instinct like a weight between them. "He's alive. Your boy is alive. I've got him in the warm." Luna's breathing hitched just slightly. She tried again to rise, claws scraping helplessly at the snow. Her legs refused to hold her. She was running on nothing but instinct and the fading echo of adrenaline. Ethan took a slow step closer. "I'm not here to hurt you," he murmured. "You did the hardest part. Let me finish the rest." Luna's lips twitched, reflex, not aggression. Even now, she was choosing restraint. Her gaze stayed fixed on him, exhausted but sharp enough to judge him. Her breath came in short, strained bursts, clouds dissolving almost instantly in the cold. The front door of Hank's house creaked open down the street. Ethan didn't have to look to know who it was. Luna heard it too. Her ears flinched at the sound. Hank's voice carried across the yard. "Ethan, step away from her." "Not again." Ethan turned his head just enough to see the man standing on his porch, rifle across his arms. Not raised, not aimed, but present, a promise, if not a threat. Behind Hank, two other neighbors lingered, worried, uncertain, but watching. "Hank," Ethan said, voice controlled, "I told you I've got this. You're risking the whole village. If that wolf charges..." "She's not going to charge. She's a predator. She's a mother," Ethan said, sharper than intended. Luna tried once more to lift herself, driven by a sound only she could hear, some lingering thread connecting her to Ash. Her legs shook violently. She collapsed again, panting hard, steam raising weakly from her muzzle. That was enough for Ethan. He stepped fully between Hank and Luna, blocking Hank's line of sight. "You shoot past me, and I swear to God, Hank, you won't be able to live with yourself." A long silence stretched, the kind that holds an entire town's tension in the palm of its hand. Finally, Hank swore under his breath and lowered the rifle a few inches. Not fully, but enough. Ethan turned back to Luna, kneeling in the snow. He moved with the slow certainty of someone approaching a wounded creature that could still tear him apart if she chose. "I'm going to help you up," he whispered. "Not to restrain you, just to get you somewhere warm." He reached out a hand, palm open, fingers steady. Luna's eyes flicked to it, then to his face. Something softened in her gaze. The faintest slip of recognition. She didn't growl, she didn't bare her teeth. She let him touch her. Ethan slid one arm beneath her chest, the other under her hindquarters, and lifted. She was shockingly light for her size, all ribs and bones and trembling muscles. Luna whimpered once, quiet, involuntary, but didn't resist. Behind him, the neighbors stared in stunned silence. Ethan carried her toward the shed, each step slow and cautious. Luna's head rested weakly against his shoulder, her breath warm and uneven on his neck. Every instinct in her body screamed to get to Ash. Every instinct in Ethan told him he had no time to waste. When he reached the door, he pushed it open with his elbow. Warm air rushed out to meet them. As Ethan carried Luna across the threshold, she stirred, lifting her head just enough to see the small towel-wrapped shape on the workbench. Her pup, breathing, alive. A low, broken sound escaped Luna's throat, neither howl nor growl, but something older and deeper than either. It was the sound of a mother finding her child again, on the edge of losing him. And Ethan understood, in that moment, that whatever line separated their worlds had already begun to blur.
The shed felt smaller with Luna inside. Ethan eased her down onto a thick mat of old blankets in the corner, backing away slowly so she could see his hands. Her eyes never left Ash. Even half-starved and shaking, she tried to pull herself toward the workbench, claws scraping weakly on the concrete. "Easy," Ethan murmured. "You're both safe in here." He moved to the small refrigerator, pulled out a container of thawed venison meant for recovering owls and foxes, and set a generous portion into a metal pan. The rich smell filled the room. Luna's nostrils flared. Her whole body tensed with hunger. He could see it. Weeks of emptiness in her eyes suddenly sharpened into raw need. He placed the pan halfway between her and the bench, close enough to reach. Then he stepped back and waited. For a long moment, Luna didn't move. Her gaze flicked from the meat to Ash, to Ethan, then back to Ash. She pushed herself up onto one trembling foreleg, then the other, muscles quivering with the effort. Ethan braced, ready to intervene if panic took over. Instead, Luna did something he would never forget. She staggered past the pan. Her head dipped toward it, teeth hovering inches from the meat, but she didn't take a single bite. She dragged herself the rest of the way to the workbench, ribs heaving, and pressed her nose up toward the edge, searching blindly for the scent of her pup. Ethan swallowed hard. He picked up the pan and set it closer to Ash, just below the bench where Luna could reach it and still keep her eyes on her son. Only then did she eat, not with the frantic, tearing greed he expected, but in slow, careful bites, never looking away from Ash for more than a heartbeat at a time. "You starved yourself for him," Ethan said quietly, "and you'd do it again." The phone on the wall buzzed against its cradle, jolting him from the moment. He snatched it up. "Karen? Yeah, I've got a situation." On the other end, Dr. Karen Miles, the rehab center's veterinarian, listened without interrupting as Ethan laid out the story. The wolf in his yard, the pup at death's door, the neighbors, the rifle, the decision he'd made. When he finished, there was a pause long enough for him to wonder if the call had dropped. "You realize every state wildlife report in the country is going to want this on file," she said at last. "I realize, but right now I need to keep them breathing, not fill out forms." Her tone softened. "All right, tell me about the pup first." They went over Ash's condition, temperature, breathing, response to fluids. Karen walked him through the next steps. More warmed electrolytes, a careful watch for signs of internal damage, slow introduction of a milk replacer if he held steady. "And the mother?" she asked. "Exhausted. starving, wound on her shoulder, old bite. She's alert but barely standing, and she won't take her eyes off him. Karen exhaled into the line. Sedate her lightly, enough to calm her, not knock her out. You don't want her panicking in close quarters if he whimpers. Make sure she can see him at all times. That bond is what got him to you. You don't break it unless you absolutely have to. He glanced over. Luna had finished the meat and was lying with her head on her paws, body angled toward Ash. Her eyes were half-lidded but unblinking, fixed on the small shape on the towel. I don't think she'd let me break it even if I tried, he said. He prepared the sedative, hands moving automatically. When he approached, Luna tensed, but he spoke in the same low, even tone he used for wounded hawks. Easy, girl. This is going to help, not hurt. He let her see the syringe, then gently slid the needle under the loose skin at her shoulder. She flinched, a low rumble starting in her chest, but it died quickly as the drug took hold. Her breathing slowed, the hard edge of panic eased from her eyes, leaving only exhaustion and a strange, cautious trust. Minutes stretched into an hour. Ethan moved back and forth between them, checking Ash's temperature, adjusting the heating pad, refilling Luna's water dish. Mia sat quietly on a crate in the corner, legs swinging, watching every move. Does she know you're helping? Mia asked softly. Ethan looked from the pup to the mother and back again. Luna's gaze met his for a long, steady moment. She didn't bare her teeth. She didn't try to drag Ash away. She just watched. I think, he said slowly, I think she knows I'm not letting him go without a fight. Mia nodded, as if that answer made perfect sense. In the cramped makeshift clinic, the world outside, the complaints, the fear, the rifles, felt far away. There was only the beep of a small monitor, the soft hum of the heater, and the quiet breaths of a mother and her pup on the edge of survival, and a man who suddenly understood that somewhere along the way, their lives had become tied together in a way he could no longer walk away from. By dawn the next morning, the shed was wrapped in a pale winter hush. Only the soft ticking of the heater and the slow, steady rhythm of Luna's breathing broke the silence. Ethan had dozed off in a chair, chin tucked to his chest, but his sleep was shallow, the kind born of fear and responsibility. Every small sound from the wolves snapped him back to alertness. When he finally blinked awake for good, he saw something that pulled him fully upright. Ash was moving. Not just twitching or shivering, moving. His tiny paws flexed against the towel, claws barely visible. His head lifted a fraction, wobbling weakly before sinking back down, but the effort alone was more life than Ethan had seen in him since the moment Luna arrived at his doorstep. Easy there, little one, Ethan whispered, leaning closer. The pup's eyes, cloudy but open, searched the blurry space around him. Luna lifted her head instantly, the sedative long since worn thin, and a soft, aching whine rose from her chest. She tried to stand, but her legs trembled beneath her. Ethan moved between them, quickly but cautiously. Hold on, girl. He's right here. He's safe. Luna didn't try to push past him. Instead, she pressed her nose to the edge of the workbench, as close to Ash as she could get without rising. There was something desperate in the way she reached, not frantic, but pleading, anchored by instinct alone. Ash's ears twitched at the sound of her breathing. Then he responded. A faint, broken chirp. A sound too soft to be a howl, but too deliberate to be accidental, escaped him. A call. Recognition. The thin thread between mother and pup tightened as if pulled taut. Luna let out a sound that cut straight into Ethan's chest. Relief, pain, love, everything wrapped into one trembling breath.
Ethan gave her space, stepping back as he adjusted the heating pad and eased Ash toward the bench's edge, just within Luna's reach. Her nose brushed lightly against his fur. Ash leaned into it, barely, but enough. "That's it," Ethan whispered. "That's what he needed." Mia appeared at the shed door, rubbing sleep from her eyes and clutching her blanket around her shoulders. "Dad, is he better?" Ethan nodded once, slow and cautious. "He's improving, not out of the woods yet, but he's fighting." Mia stepped in quietly, taking her usual place on the crate. Her eyes shined as she watched the pup's tiny movements. "She looks stronger too." "She will be, as long as the village doesn't panic again." Almost as if the words summoned it, the crunch of boots sounded outside. Ethan stiffened. He moved toward the window and peeked out, expecting Hank, expecting another argument, another rifle barrel. Instead, he saw something surprising. Two neighbors stood outside, not with weapons, but with a box of canned food and an old generator blanket. Another neighbor lingered behind them holding a thermos. They weren't smiling, exactly, but they weren't afraid the way they'd been yesterday. They looked curious, concerned, even sympathetic. Ethan stepped outside, closing the shed door just enough to keep Luna calm. "We heard the pup's still alive, and well, we figured you might need supplies." Ethan blinked. "Thank you." Another neighbor spoke up. "Hank's still grumbling, but he ain't stopping anyone from helping. Had a long talk with Sheriff Cobb last night. Seems folks realized the wolf didn't come here to cause trouble." The first man shrugged awkwardly. "A mother is a mother." Ethan felt tension ease from his shoulders. "I appreciate this. Truly." When he returned to the shed, he found Luna watching him with an intensity that sent a small chill up his spine. Not fear, but understanding. She didn't fight his presence anymore. She didn't tense when he approached. In her exhausted eyes, something had shifted. Maybe she didn't know the meaning of gratitude in a human sense, but she understood intention. Ethan moved to Ash again, warming another syringe of diluted milk replacement. "All right, little guy, let's keep this going." Ash swallowed the first drops more easily this time. His breathing steadied. His paws pushed weakly against Ethan's fingers as if protesting the restraint, tiny sparks of instinct coming back online. Luna watched every motion, inch by inch. After several careful tries, Ash lifted his head again, and this time it stayed up. Only for a few seconds, wobbling heavily, but it stayed up. His ears perked toward Luna's soft, rumbling encouragement. His little body trembled from the effort, but a faint determination flickered through him, unmistakable and fierce. Even Mia gasped. "Dad, he's really trying." "He's doing more than trying. He's choosing to live." Luna shifted, gathering the strength to rise. She managed it, barely, her paws unsteady but planted. She stood long enough to press her muzzle to Ash as Ethan held him. The pup responded with a weak nuzzle. And in that quiet moment, something passed between the wolves, an understanding, a promise, a raw and ancient bond. Ethan found himself whispering without meaning to, "We're not losing him. Not now." Mia smiled softly. "Or her." For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to consider it. They might actually make it, mother and pup, against the odds, against winter, against fear. This wasn't just survival anymore. It was the beginning of a second chance. And none of them, not Ethan, not Luna, not the tiny pup who had dragged himself back from the edge, knew just how much their lives were about to change next. The weeks that followed settled into a rhythm neither human nor wolf could have predicted. Ash grew stronger at a pace that startled even Ethan. Each sunrise brought some new sign of recovery, steadier breaths, brighter eyes, a sturdier stance on legs that had once folded beneath him like wet twigs. By the third week, he could pad across the length of the shed without stumbling. By the fourth, he could pounce clumsily on Mia's mitten when she dangled it like a toy. Luna herself transformed just as dramatically. The hollow look faded from her eyes, her gait steadied. The deep exhaustion that had once kept her pinned to the blanket slowly lifted, replaced by a sharpening awareness. She moved with purpose again, less prey than predator, less survivor than mother. The wound on her shoulder healed, her fur thickened, her ribs no longer protruded like a map of suffering. But with their growing strength came a shift Ethan had been expecting, yet still dreaded. They were becoming wild again. Not in a dangerous way, not aggressive, but Luna began pacing near the door at certain hours, nose tilted toward the distant scent of pine and running water. Ash mirrored her instinct, sniffing at the cracks in the shed wall, ears perked toward every owl call and distant wolf howl. Their home was calling, and they felt it down to their bones. Mia noticed it first. One evening, as she watched Ash circle restlessly around his mother, she whispered, "They don't belong in here anymore, do they?" Ethan sighed. No, they don't. He knew what had to come next, what he had always known, even on the day Luna collapsed in his yard. Wolves did not belong in sheds or warmed rooms or beside propane heaters. They belonged under the sky. Still, knowing didn't make it easier. 2 days later, under a clear sky and fresh snow, Ethan loaded the wolves into a padded transport crate. Ash whimpered once, not in fear, but confusion, and Luna pressed close to him, her presence as steadying as a heartbeat. Ethan touched her muzzle gently before closing the crate door. "You brought him to me. Now I'm bringing you home." Mia climbed into the truck beside him, her hand slipping into his. She didn't say anything, but he felt her silent support as he started the engine. The drive was slow and winding, leading them through fir shadows and over frozen ridgelines until they reached a secluded valley far from grazing land, far from Hank's fences and rifles, far from anyone who might see a wolf mother and assume the worst. Here, the world was untouched. Ethan stopped the truck, stepped out, and opened the rear hatch. Cold air rushed in, carrying scents Luna recognized instantly: spruce sap, river spray, the faint musk of deer trails. Even inside the crate, she lifted her head sharply. Ethan knelt beside the door. "This is good land, and it's yours if you want it." He unlatched the crate. Luna stepped out first, one cautious paw sinking into the snow. She didn't bolt, she didn't bound away. She stood still for a long moment, inhaling the world she had nearly lost. Ash followed, wobbling only once before Luna nudged him reassuringly. Then Luna turned to Ethan. It wasn't the fearful stare she'd given him weeks ago. It wasn't even the wary watchfulness she'd shown in the shed. This look was different, calm, steady, full of something ancient and quiet. Acknowledgement. Recognition. Something like gratitude. Ash mimicked her, turning his small, bright eyes toward the man who had saved him. For a heartbeat, the three of them, man, mother, pup, shared a silent understanding that needed no words. Then Luna gave a soft, short huff, the signal of a wolf ready to move. She nudged Ash forward. The pup bounded into the snow, leaving tiny prints in the powder. Luna trotted after him, her body no longer frail or hesitant. Ethan watched them weave into the underbrush, their shapes merging into the forest until they were no more than shifting shadows. And then they were gone. Mia exhaled, her breath fogging the air. Will we ever see them again?
Maybe, if they want us to. Winter shifted into early spring. Snow melted from the village roofs. The neighbors talked less about the wolf incident and more about fishing season. Even Hank's anger cooled into silence, though he still gave Ethan a look now and then that said he didn't quite understand what happened, or maybe he just didn't want to. Life moved forward. But sometimes, late at night, when the moon rose above the ridge and the creek ran quiet, Ethan would step outside and listen. And one night, it happened. A long, low howl drifted from the tree line beyond the far fields, clear, strong, confident. Followed by a smaller voice, higher-pitched, wobbly, but proud. Mia ran to the porch beside him, her eyes shining. She whispered, "It's them." Ethan smiled, not the small, uncertain smile he wore for the village, but a full one, warmed from someplace deeper. "Yeah," he said softly. "They're telling us they're all right." The wolves' calls echoed across Silver Creek, rising into the night sky like a promise carved into the cold air. Luna was alive. Ash was thriving. And somewhere in the dark woods beyond the village, a mother wolf who had once dragged her fading pup through winter still remembered the man who helped her stand again. A bridge had been built, one made not of words or fences or fear, but of courage, trust, and the kind of love that crosses species and survival itself. And that bridge, once formed, never truly disappears.